Urban Meyer has a solution for the coaches embroiled in NCAA scandal. The Ohio State coach told Columbus Sports Radio, quote, "If you intentionally lie about committing violations, your career is over. You're not suspended for 2 games or some of the silly penalties you have. You can't talk to a recruit for a week and a half or something like that. No, you're finished. That will clean up some things," end quote. So, Bo, do you like this zero tolerance policy, and are you surprised it's coming from Urban Meyer?
All right, I'm not saying that I like the zero tolerance policy, but now this is dangerous dealing with the NCAA and discussing things like precedent because they have demonstrated that precedent means nothing to them. But a precedent was set when they suspended Des Bryant, where he was asked, had he ever been to Deion Sanders' house? He said no, and they yanked his eligibility from him right then and there. If you're going to do that to 19, 20-year-old kids that are being interrogated in those circumstances and take it away from them, then what Urban is saying is absolutely correct. Then, yeah, a coach should be fired at that, keeping in mind that in this scandal that we've got right now, Bruce Pearl lost his job at Tennessee in large part for lying to an investigator, and now he's back in play and no comment after his assistant gets hemmed up at Auburn. Now, am I surprised that Urban Meyer said this? Not terribly, because it sounds like the SEC was more than he could handle in terms of what it had to be to get things done.
So this recommendation mostly feels quaint to me, and I think it's absolutely dead on what you said about equally processing the infractions of players and coaches, but it's quaint because this is an implication here that, these coaches, if only they would tell the truth to the NCAA, would help solve this problem. Like, the problem isn't that people are lying to the NCAA. The problem is that the NCAA is built on a lie. And the lie is not that, we can get around amateurism. The lie is we can get around amateurism while bathing in capitalism. Like, let's look at what Urban Meyer has been making. $6 million, in terms of salary. But Ohio State has a 15-year, $252 million contract with Nike that they signed last year. So we can talk about, are you going to lie to these investigators without subpoena power? But really, it's the fact that we've all decided to make a ton of money, except we won't let these players do so.
Well, he says that this will clean a lot of things up, right? Like if the coach gets caught for lying. No. What winds up cleaning these things up is if all these underlings that are typically below and enough layers beneath that the coach doesn't have to find out what they're doing, if the coach is held accountable for what those guys do,
right,
then maybe we're talking about something else. Like I say, I don't think he thought about this NCAA angle in the way that I had thought about it. But, when you're Ohio State, you want as little cheating out there as possible because you need to cheat less than everybody else.
Right. And speaking, by the way, of the zero tolerance rhetoric, you know who had a strong policy on anti-sneaker companies? Rick Pitino. In 2014, he said, we got to get the shoe companies out of the lives of young athletes. So your rhetoric doesn't mean much if you're not backing it up.
And then cash the biggest checks from Adidas. Isn't that something?